How you doing, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes. I'm your host, Marcus, and we have a little bit to get into today because I have one topic I want to talk to you guys about specifically, and it's all basketball related on this episode because we're talking about the NBA playoffs. And as you can see right here on your screen, Kevin Durant actually showed up and showed the world what he actually is capable of, as if we had forgotten or anything, because he's been gone for roughly 2 years. But the man had an outstanding performance, and you all know me by now. I am not a prisoner of the moment. Seeing that he put up a 49, 17, and 10 game, and he played every minute of the entire game, that's the most important thing to me. Aside from the 10 assists, he played every minute of the game. See, 49 points from a guy like Kevin Durant is not that impressive to me. We know he can drop that in his sleep. He's not scoring. He's regarded as one of the greatest natural scorers of the ball we've ever seen in basketball history. So him being able to put up 50 points is not even remotely impressive. 17 boards at 7 feet tall. He better be able to get 10 or more boards. I'm sorry, but that's just a physical thing for me. Now, what I am really surprised by is because I've never seen him do it to this level, and I'm not sure he can do it again, but he may not have to, is facilitate. 10 assists? Okay. I never considered him much of a passer. Not saying that he could not do this, but he's never really had to. He's never had to, facilitate an offense. He's usually always had a ball handler no matter where he goes. Whether he complained about it or not isn't really the point. So, because usually, in OKC, he had Russell. In Golden State, he had Steph. And here he has two, really. I mean, the main ball handler will be James Harden, but he had Kyrie Irving just in case. But both of those guys are pretty much injured in this game. They won Game 5 against the Bucks, to which the Bucks were heavy favorites. I said earlier, and I'm not sure if I said it on the show or not, but barring injury, the Nets have the East sewn up for the most part. Like, they're going to the finals. As of this very moment, they are leading 3-2 against the Bucks. There's one more game, because I believe that if Kevin has another game like this, which I don't think they're going to push him that hard, but James Harden did play in this game. He didn't score, and he played 46 minutes. I'm not sure what he was actually doing out there. I guess he was doing what he could, just being a distraction or a decoy. But it is what it is. It worked. Also, it doesn't say it here, but Jeff Green pulled up. He showed up to play. I always say role players have a significant role on the team, hence the name role players. And their whole motto is next man up. Jeff Green showed up, put up 27 points in his game. Okay? That's crazy because he's not known for scoring. He's really known as the guy, the do-it-all guy. He's the go-getter. You need defense, he's got you. You need a little offense, he can get you that too. He's a motivator of the young guys on the court. He can get things done. Jeff Green isn't known to be putting up 25 points or more a game. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do it again, but now that they've seen he can do this, he might end up being looked at as an X factor going forward. Now, I'm going to take you over to the bracket, and this is what the NBA playoffs look like right now. As of this very moment, as of this recording, the Phoenix Suns are the only team waiting their opponents at the moment. Okay? Now, that could change. That could change in the coming days, because looking at this, a bit of a surprise here. Now, I didn't expect Denver to go out without a single win, without a victory. I expected them to at least get one game. I knew the team was injured. I knew they didn't have everyone there. But when you have the MVP of the league, Nikola Jokic, on your team, you ought to be able to pull off one win. But he can't do everything. He doesn't have Jamal Murray. Half his team isn't really playing. Like, they play with no heart, and it didn't make any sense to me. I don't understand how they got this far and just collapsed on themselves. It didn't make any sense to me, and it still doesn't. But getting past that, the Phoenix Suns could get the first sweep of the entire playoffs this year. I'm sorry. Milwaukee got the first sweep. I tend to forget that Miami got swept in the first round. It feels like ages ago to me. Like, I feel like we might as well not even gone this year. Like, we got 6 seed, but I'm hurt right now. That's off topic. So, staying out west, Utah and the Clippers are tied at 2. Now, personally, I picked Utah for this one, mainly because I want to see some different players in the finals this year. Personally, I would like to see 4 teams that we've not seen in the finals in a long time. Now, I don't want to see. Now, I want the Western Finals to be Utah versus Phoenix, to which I want to see these two teams. Because here's the thing about these teams. They're whole teams. They have role players, significant role players. Like, think about it for a second. You have two of the best players in the league under the age of 25, and Donovan Mitchell in Utah, and Devin Booker in Phoenix, going head to head. Like, everyone worries about, where's the league gonna go? LeBron's gonna be retiring soon, and Chris Paul is speaking of which. I also want to see Chris Paul get his actual shot at an NBA title, because, I mean, there are only a few players that I want to see at least play in the finals. I don't know if they're gonna win it, but I want to see them play. Unfortunately, I won't be seeing Carmelo Anthony get there, as they got eliminated by Denver in the first round. But Chris Paul is one of those players, and he's shown that even at his age, what is he, 36 now? He's shown that he not only can he lead a team, but he can help develop younger players, and he can take a team, like, he can be that X factor. Like, he proved it, like, time and time again. The teams that he plays for only get better, and that says something. We're talking about Phoenix, who won eight straight games in the bubble, only to get outed. They added Chris Paul, and now they're in the Western Conference Finals. Now, this is big hopes that he doesn't get injured, because usually right on cue, Chris Paul will get hurt. But I'm praying that he stays healthy. All right, because I want to see them go up against the Utah Jazz with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and my personal favorite Utah Jazz player, Joe Ingles. And I have a soft spot in my heart. Like there's a soft place for me for those kind of role players. Jordan Clarkson, 6th Man of the Year. I want to see this happen. Now, checking it out, East, we got Atlanta actually going toe-to-toe with Philadelphia. Now, as of this recording, they are 2-2, tied. Game 5 will be the day that this is being set out. And personally, that's a tough one for me. I kind of want to see Atlanta take that. And it's not because they're the underdog, because they clearly are the underdog, but it's not why. I have this thing where I do believe that if Philadelphia is going to go anywhere, Ben Simmons is going to have to come out of his shell and play outside of his normal game. He's going to have to start shooting from distance. Not saying necessarily 3, but 18 feet or more would help. Like, I'm not saying that he cannot shoot. I've seen him do it in practice, but when it comes to playing in the game, he just doesn't do it. He wants to go into the paint, take it to the rack, and at 6'10", there's not a lot anyone could do about that, especially not a point guard. But he's going to have to make his game much more versatile, at least offensively. Defensively, I think he should have won the DPOY, the Defensive Player of the Year. I think he should have got it. But they gave it to Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz. So, back to the initial topic, the Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets. Like I said, James Harden played 46 out of the 48 minutes of this game and got no points whatsoever. He barely even got any assists, honestly. He may as well not even been out there. But Jeff Green made up for that. Gotta say this. I don't think Kevin Durant's going to have to do what he did in this game again, but they might need it. And if they need it, let's hope that he can be healthy enough to do it. Now, I'm not saying that he's not going to be healthy enough. I'm saying the man's coming off of an Achilles injury. He, they've been bringing him back sparingly. Limiting his minutes. As the season went on, he got more in rhythm. Now is the time when they need him. But because Giannis is not a joke, but sometimes he plays like one. It's unfortunate. Chris Middleton, he's starting to show up, but it just wasn't enough for this game. It is what it is. So, I'm going to go ahead and fire off right here. I want to see Utah and Phoenix in the West, and I want to see Atlanta go up against Brooklyn, which regardless is going to be a massacre. Brooklyn's going to run over whoever, because by the time they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, Kyrie will be back, and I'm pretty sure James Harden will be back. If both of them are like 65 to 70% of how good they really are, they're gonna sweep whoever they meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, the same way I had a prediction about the Dallas Mavericks, if they were to get out of the West, that they were going to win the championship. If Phoenix or Utah, for that matter, if either one of these teams makes it to the finals, it doesn't really matter. I'm taking the underdog there. Mainly because, like most fans, I am tired of super teams. I'm tired of super teams. And I'm not tired of super teams because of the obvious reasons, but I'm tired of them because there's no parity in the league anymore. What do I mean when I say there's no parity in the league? I'm tired of seeing the same players make it to the finals year in and year out. If it ain't LeBron, it's Kevin Durant. If it ain't Kevin Durant, it's Kawhi Leonard. If it ain't Kawhi Leonard, it's whoever. It's Steph Curry. I'm tired of seeing these same players, same faces. Now, I want to see some parity. I want to see some of these young and up-and-coming players actually ascend as the current players that we know to be the face of the league are phasing out a little bit, you know? Like LeBron maybe has 2 good years left in him. This was year 18. I think he plays 20 years. I think he might give you a 21st. Depends on how he feels. Like, you know, some people say he's gonna see his son come into the league. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. It really depends. But I love the parity that we're gonna get this year. We're gonna see no matter what happens, we're gonna see a new face, hopefully. I just don't need the Clippers. I don't want to see Kawhi in the finals again. Would I like to see Paul George in the finals? No. Now, back to the super team thing. I'm tired of seeing players who are MVP caliber players at MVP status. Like, they can all compete for the MVP. I'm tired of seeing them on the same team. That kills parity. Like some people say, you know, well, what about when LeBron went and got Anthony Davis? But that doesn't make it a super team. Because without them both, they're not even average run of the mill. They're a garbage team. See what I'm saying? Like, I would love to say that Anthony Davis is MVP caliber. I would love to say that because given his skill set, he could be MVP. But he's never healthy enough, long enough to be an MVP. He just isn't. That's what stopped him. He's just never healthy enough. You know, they always say, can he carry a team? He did the best he could in New Orleans. They say, you know, LeBron haters will say that he carried the team last year, and you know, had he been healthy, he would have carried them this year. Okay, I'll make an argument for this year because without Anthony Davis, the team was terrible, even with LeBron on the floor, post and pre-injury. Not saying they were awful, but it was obvious he needed AD out there. Like, those two had chemistry that they hadn't practiced without each other. Not really. Now, when I say super teams, 2 or more MVP caliber players. The Brooklyn Nets have 3 MVP caliber players. Now, right now, one of them is down. He's not playing. The other one tried to play and didn't do well at all. But each of these 3 players is capable of dropping 40 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds on any given night, probably the same night if they have a good game and they're in rhythm. Nobody wants to see that. I'm tired of seeing these semi-all-star teams being created. It's one thing if you draft them. It's another if they just come together. Now, here's the thing. I don't mind free agency because in free agency, players are free to go and do whatever they will do. But when players start forcing their ways out of their cities while still under contract like James Harden did in Houston, I got a problem with that. I mean, I understand it's business, but I don't want, like, if you're going to force your way out, force yourself into another situation that is slightly better than the one you're in. The team in Houston just didn't have any direction, and they didn't have any chemistry yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just got a new coach. The players that were there were either, all of them were dispersing in their own individual directions. And James Harden said, you know what, this team ain't it. I want out. And of course, he put 7 years into it and didn't get his championship. Okay, fine. Arguably, fine. He can leave. But don't send him to Brooklyn. Don't send him to Brooklyn. Kevin Durant is there. Kyrie Irving is there. Don't send him to Brooklyn. Why would you do that? And then there are other players, because James Harden, he dogged it. He intentionally dogged it out of Houston. Then you have other players like Blake Griffin, to which everyone said he's past his prime. He's trash. He's washed up. Not true. Everyone on the other side, you got people saying that he gave up on the Pistons. On the other side of that, you're saying the Pistons gave up on him. I don't really care how you want to look at it. Blake Griffin is still an impact player. He can give you 18 points and 10 boards on any given night. He give you whatever you're looking for. He may not be the high-flying Blake Griffin that we remember back when he was the Clippers, but he's still impactful. Okay? His game has changed so that he can lengthen his career out, so he can play longer. But it makes no sense for people to say that he's not going to be impactful on this team. They said the same thing about LaMarcus Aldridge. Unfortunately, LaMarcus Aldridge was forced into early retirement. God bless him. But that team got scary real fast, and they're still kind of scary. They are head and shoulders above anyone. If they meet Philly in the Eastern Conference Finals, that's going to be a decent battle. Unfortunately, if everyone's healthy, Ben Simmons is going to be the reason Philadelphia doesn't win. Plain and simple. If Ben Simmons were to just shoot, you got an even matchup there. And the good thing is Philadelphia drafted their players. The only players that they got via trade or that came over via free agency, they're role players. You're Tobias Harris, who, by the way, is having an amazing run right now. That man does not get nearly enough credit. He does not get nearly enough respect. And I'll admit, even I don't give him respect. I jokingly call him great value J. Cole. And for those who don't know anything about hip-hop on this show, J. Cole, look him up. One of the best rappers alive, but we won't get into that today. Okay? So, usually I always have a hot take, but before I get to that, I want to make one thing clear. Michael Rappaport made a statement saying that LeBron James is able to, players like LeBron James are able to impose their will. And Kevin Durant won't do that because he doesn't have it in him. Now, I don't agree with that statement 100%. Now, I will say this. There's a difference between being the best player on the floor, as in scoring or whatever you have here. There's a difference in that and being an imposing force. LeBron James imposes his will on his opponents. He's inconsistent at it, but he has the ability to do it, and we see it quite often. It might be a game here, a game there. We might see it 3 or 4 times throughout the season. He's older now, but when he was younger, like in his Miami days, we saw it more often. Before he left Cleveland the first time, we saw it more often. When he went back the last time, we saw it more often in the championship run. But the older he gets, you're going to see a lot less of that. Now he's picking a spot. He's becoming an opportunist on certain situations. And that's understandable. That comes with age. But Kevin Durant, always been an offensive force, but he's never really imposed his will. Has he been an underrated defender? Sure, he's been underrated. But when we talk about imposing your will on an opponent, it's not just offense. It's defense. It's everything. And there's only a handful of players in league history who've been able to sustain imposing their will, this ability to impose their will on their opponents for a long period of time. Players like Kobe Bryant, players like Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I don't like Michael Jordan, but I give him respect. He's probably the best player to ever play the game. You won't hear me say that too many times. I'm an old Sonics fan. And when we ran into him in the finals, I hated every minute of it. It hurt me to my stomach. I still have not forgotten about that. I'll probably never will. I will probably be salty until the day I am in the dirt about that series. Doesn't matter. Okay? I'm a Heat fan right now. It is what it is. But like I said, there are only a handful of players who have had the ability and shown the ability to impose their will. At his best, matter of fact, I'm going to use Michael Jordan as an example here. When playing against Michael Jordan, sure, he had his teammates, but whoever was guarding Michael Jordan, ain't nothing you can do about it. If you're guarding him, you can't stop him. If he's guarding you, he's going to be in your head, and you can't do anything about it either, especially in his prime. So I mean, when you compare that ability to what KD does, offensively, you can't do anything about him. He's a 7-foot 3-point shooter who can still drive the lane. And when he rises up, what are you going to do about that? Aside from foul him, to which he's a bucket from the line too. You really can't do anything about that, right? But defensively, a moment ago I know I said he's underrated. But defensively, if you can get by him, you can get by him. He doesn't always make the best of that wingspan of his. which I wish he would do more of. On the perimeter, if you can get past him, you can get past him. You know, everyone's got holes in their game somewhere. Now, I'm not saying that Kevin can't impose his will. We clearly just watched him do it in Game 5. But we haven't seen enough of that. In my opinion, he is one of the best players to ever play the game, period, point blank. But the ability to impose your will on your opponent is different from being the best scorer or the best player on the floor. Imposing your will is almost like bullying. There's nothing the other team can do. They can throw they can throw all 5 on you at one time. If you don't pass that ball, I mean, what they going to do? Perfect example, a current one too. On offense, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant's teammate, Kyrie Irving. You can throw all 5 defenders at Kyrie Irving. If he's not going to pass that ball, he's going to dribble through everything. He's a one-man show. Defensively, he's good enough. He plays defense when he wants to and in critical moments. If Kyrie would give the same enthusiasm that on defense that he gives on offense, Kyrie Irving would be unstoppable. Period, point blank. But as it stands, you only got to worry about him with that ball in his hands. On defense, he's not as big a threat because, well, I mean, he's an opportunist as well. He picks his spots, but I mean, I'm sorry, but I am a big fan of defenders who are just going to be on you like white on rice. Does it result in a bunch of fouls? Usually, yeah. But it makes the game interesting because now we got to make adjustments on the fly. So, let me stop now. I'm going to go ahead and give you my hot take before it's over. The Eastern Conference Finals will probably more than likely be Brooklyn and Philly. The Western Conference Finals, we already know Phoenix is going to be there. But I'm going to say Utah comes together because they've been together longer. The chemistry is going to show and shine. And the Clippers are going to lose that series. They're going to meet the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference Finals. Of course, we know the winner of each of these series will go to the finals. If Philadelphia meets Brooklyn, like they should, that series goes 6 games. Brooklyn gets the edge. In the West, if Utah meets Phoenix, that goes 7 games. Advantage, Phoenix. If Phoenix meets Brooklyn, if everyone's healthy, advantage Phoenix. And that's just because I choose underdogs. I love to see underdogs win. That should be no surprise, though. So, thank you. This has been another episode of Hot Takes with your host, Marcus. Of course, that is me. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube page. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. Hot Takes Sports Podcast. That is the name of my YouTube channel. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And I do read and comment. I read and respond to most comments. Until next time, this has been Marcus, and peace, folks. See you next week.